Everyone has a plan until they get hit in the chest. My husband and I train together, and we're working on getting a martial arts school up and running. So I had an advantage getting back into training because my husband knew my medical history, and I was able to ease back into it without having to constantly explain that I needed to take things down a notch. Also, with stick fighting, chest impact is usually minimal, so I don't take a ton of precautions. In my Own Your Consult video, I talked about the importance of asking a ton of questions when evaluating treatment options. At this point, when you're post-surgery and you're cleared to start training, hopefully you feel like you got enough information and you were able to make an informed decision. I mentioned in another video that a few months after reconstructive surgery, I went to a 500 Rising Women Self-Defense Instructor training. I was definitely nervous going into this because I wasn't sure whether I would need to make any changes and what those changes would look like. So this just wasn't me trying to learn self-defense as a student, it was also how to teach it. So would I need to make changes either as a student or the instructor? I was having to learn this. My reconstructive surgeon is definitely in favor of me wearing a chest protector at all times in training, but I often choose to assume the risk of not wearing one. I think that's key here. You don't necessarily have to make adjustments. Your risk tolerance and my risk tolerance might be different for any number of reasons. That said, here are a few things I've done. Number 1, plan ahead. I was lucky that for the 500 Rising training, I had an outline of what we were going to cover over those days, so I was able to plan ahead a little bit. If you don't have access to this information, I recommend talking to your instructor and just seeing if you can get an idea of what you're going to cover over the next few weeks. Number 2, have equipment on hand. I purchased a Maxi Guard chest protector. It's a sports bra that has an insert, and it's kind of hard to explain, so definitely just look it up. But when I'm stick fighting, I forget I'm wearing it. It's not noticeable through clothes. If you're still figuring out what might work for you, you can ask your martial arts instructor if there's any equipment available for you to try on. Number 3, have a couple of plans. I'm not talking about gardening, I'm talking about training partners and friends you feel comfortable sharing what you've been through. At the 500 Rising training, I shared with a couple of friends that I wasn't quite sure how physically comfortable I'd be doing groundwork. They both offered to pair up with me at that time, and so I felt much better on those days knowing that at any point I could call on one of them and they would come right over and partner up with me. Number 4, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the chest. You are going to take unexpected impact, and depending on the surgery you had, that could feel fine, it could feel uncomfortable, it could be painful, or it could do some damage. This could happen in any aspect of your life. It could be a rambunctious toddler. If this happens, follow your doctor's recommendations for appropriate follow-up. But otherwise, think about how much effort you want to put into trying to prevent impact. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. It's just risk tolerance. And if you do end up taking more impact than you expect, try to stay calm and grounded. Number 5, adapt. You study martial arts and self-defense. Your body is a little different now. This is the body you need to defend, so work with it, use it, get used to moving. Be active in as many ways as possible. Try new things. Yes, martial artists, maybe even cardio. Your physical changes and abilities will depend on what surgery and treatment you had, but bottom line, you'll have to work with it. When I'm stick fighting, I'm not generally thinking about anything other than hitting my opponent and avoiding getting hit. I don't feel like my breast cancer diagnosis have really impacted my training. But if I did a different martial arts, like something with a lot of sparring or judo, I might see things differently. I might have a different experience. I may have a different perspective in a year or two, and I will definitely follow up then.